Today, I'm going to be ranting and raving about the New Age spiritual movement, New Age spirituality in general, and all the things that it entails, and the sort of hyper-feminization of it. The effectively, the feminine aspect of the universe is at the helm in this regard. I will also be talking and dabbling a little bit into these merchant gurus, merchant shamans that are so prevalent in this niche, because merchants cannot help but get their grubby little hands on anything and everything in order to make money. And I speak on this subject with some authority because I quite literally lived and breathed it. I had a spiritual blowout of cosmic proportions when I was on active duty in the Marine Corps down in San Diego. I figured out that they don't test for LSD because it's really hard to catch people when they're doing it. And it was really expensive, so they stopped doing it a while ago. Actually, it was in like the 90s they stopped doing it. So being in San Diego, I knew a couple of people in my platoon that were from the area, and I asked them because I knew they were interested in it as well. And I told them and I showed them, hey, we can do acid. And they were like, fuck yeah. So we started buying them by the sheet. And I was doing acid just about every weekend. I had met a woman in the area, and we were dating pretty seriously. And so on the weekends, I would go to stay with them. She was rooming with some college friends. They were going to the Art Institute down in San Diego, learning to make video games. So I was almost like, I was kind of in this paradise where on the weekends I would go and I would just party with a bunch of nerds and do acid. It was pretty great. But as time rolled on, it just completely cracked my consciousness wide open, and I endured a week-long Kundalini experience that I don't like to use the term ego death because it doesn't really quite do it justice. It was more of like the annihilation of everything that I was. It was just gone. And I've experienced ego death prior to this, but then I always, came back. Once it's over with, you just become who you are, or who you were again, slightly changed. This was completely different. I barely survived this, and I'm very fortunate that my ex-wife effectively sort of took care of me during this time. And so she was of merchant stock. Her Filipino mother ran her own little Filipino store. And so she was the one who sort of pushed me in this direction, because one of the first things that had happened was after my consciousness had expanded, I had quite literally opened up my third eye. I was experiencing reality in a completely different way. A lot of it was just like my intuition. I just grabbed the knob and turned it up to 11. And I was just living life on pure intuition at that point. Nothing else really mattered. And so what happened was I was drawn to tarot. I just had my wife at the time, my ex-wife, pick me up a deck of tarot cards on a whim when she was out. And I started doing tarot card readings for free to people online, and it turned out great. The feedback was great. They said I was good at it. So then I took it to the streets, as it were. I began doing tarot card readings for people at the park, people at the beach, all up and down San Diego. I frequented OB, Ocean Beach, a lot, PB sometimes, Carlsbad a lot, but it was great. I did this for about a year, and I wanted to test myself because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do this. And it wasn't until a woman quite literally told me to stop doing these for free and to do them for money. So I said, okay. And so I think next week I was in a metaphysical store in Carlsbad called the Mystical Dragon, and I was there trying to see if I could hang up some of my artwork. I had these mandalas I had been drawing that were coming out during this time as well, which became a whole form of divination that I had created and would essentially fuel what happens next. But I was given a job on the spot. I casually brought up that I did tarot card readings, and she asked if I could give her one. I borrowed a deck of tarot cards, gave her a reading, and she hired me on the spot. I became a full-time employee, under the table employee of the store, and began doing readings for people there full-time. It was great. I loved it. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from the women that were there, because a lot of these women had been doing this for like 30 or 40 years. And so I learned a lot, just boots on the ground. I could tell right away when somebody walked through the door if this was or was not, we were not going to work out very well, because my approach to tarot is, I think, a little bit unique in the in the field. And I say that because I'm a man, and not just a man, but I'm like a fairly masculine man. I grew up just doing dude shit my whole life. I never, in a million years, would have imagined that I would have been involved in tarot or the spirituality at all. I was an atheist, a militantly nihilistic atheist too, prior to this. I forgot where I was going with that, but I don't approach tarot the same way a lot of people do. I actually preface to everybody that I give a tarot card reading to that I'm not here to entertain you. I'm not here to, tell your fortune or guess what's going on. I look at the tarot cards as a very serious, very intuitive look into a situation that's going on. And it took me a while to understand what was going on with these tarot cards, because time and time again, I would sit there and I would read them and I would talk to them, and the more information that they divulged about their situation in their life, the more information I could glean from the cards. And so I always tell people that, if a lot of people just want a general reading, and that's fine, I'll give you a general reading, but it's sort of like buckshot out of a sawed-off shotgun. It's like, we might hit something, we might miss, so instead of wasting potentially our time with this, I don't even allow general readings anymore. But anyway, I digress. My approach to tarot was very effective for some people who really just wanted just this no bullshit. And I don't want to make this about me just tooting my own horn here, but that no bullshit approach worked for me very well. And my ex-wife pushed me down this entrepreneurial direction, which was great. And it wasn't at the same time. I was attending all these seminars. I was being tutored by all these, coincidentally enough, Jews. All these people running these seminars were Jewish. And I guess there's no better person to learn about money than from a Jew. But then eventually it evolved into consciously based or intuitively based or spiritually based entrepreneurship specifically. And we paid a lot of money into it. We went into small circles. I just learned a lot about money and how to earn it, how to extract it from other people, because that's effectively what it was all about. They never wanted to know what it was I was doing. In fact, they didn't even really give a shit what it was. I could have made something up on the spot, and they'd have been like, great, let's figure out how to convince people that it's worth way more money than what you're charging. And it was the science of, and the psychology of, like, the value of the thing, not how can we make this thing valuable. And so I had a lot of beef. But at the time, I didn't know. I was swept up with it. I was just like, wow, this is really cool. Like, I could be rich off of this. And I applied these, lessons and these principles that they taught me. And I eventually ended up moving back up to Washington State to help take care of my father, and I got a divorce at the same time, so it all just sort of happened at the same time. But what happened was I started my own business online. I had this YouTube channel called The Indigo Knight, and I had a couple of videos talking about my Kundalini experience and my opening my third eye experience, and because, I mean, it was kind of the same. I just split it up into two parts. I did I started doing my mandala readings because for me it was just a better way of getting to know what's really going on with somebody's energy. Because when I meet somebody, it's just like I plug into them and I have all this information in my unconscious about them. But trying to articulate or even like solidify what's back there is really difficult. And it usually only takes a lot of time for it to come out when I'm working with somebody. So these mandalas was like a hack, I guess you could say, for this process, because I just draw out what it was I was, feeling or intuiting about them, and then I could just read it to them, and then it worked out great. And I did some readings on like Trump, Obama at the time. And I got noticed, and some people from some pretty well-established affluent circles picked up on it and wanted a sort of a piece of this new sort of unique approach to divination. And I apparently won them over because I would do readings for them and record it, and they would share it with their community. And I got a lot of clients out of it. I got a lot of people wanting to work with me, and I found myself getting involved into ever more small, but very rich circles of people. And at one point, at my busiest point, I was making about $14,000 a month doing these readings to people from all over the world. And I had effectively achieved what I set out to do, but I hated it. I fucking hated it. And I didn't consciously understand why I hated it, but it was draining me. It was burning me out. And I realized at one point that these people don't fucking want to hear what I have to say. They just want to. It was like a trophy. What I had going, what I was making for them, it was just like this cool novelty, this trophy thing. And it was like whatever I was saying was just going right over their fucking heads, because I didn't hold back. I don't know if they thought it was, like I said, like a novelty. They thought it was funny, but I would just call a lot of their bullshit out to them. And I eventually started to touch into Hollywood circles. I was working with some producers, and I could just smell the bullshit coming off of that. The politics of it, and just the gratuitous. I mean, it was like these people weren't really people, if that makes any sense. They were just like barely sentient parakeets that had these nepo babies that had been born into this rich, lavish lifestyle. And I could have spent the rest of my life taking their fucking money and been happy with it. Or not happy with it, obviously. I was very unhappy with it. I just would have been, I by all metrics of what sort of people think about this world, from the monetary perspective, like I had succeeded. But then I quit. I dropped it. I stopped making videos for my YouTube channel. I trickled out of them. I started talking about more political, geopolitical types of events, people responded to them, but it was just like, I don't know. And I eventually just completely dropped it. Something was off. Something was missing. And I dropped it. I deleted my channel eventually, and then just started living life as a normal dude again. Like I got a job, I've had several jobs since then. It's been over a decade. Like I worked at a comic book, board game, D&D record store, for about 6 years. I worked at a pool company pouring concrete. I worked as a manager, as a copy and print manager at Office Depot for a bit. But every single time I would get in one of these jobs, with the exception of the comic book store, that one seemed to last the longest. Something would always happen that would drive me off. Like I just couldn't put up with the bullshit anymore, or like Office Depot, the store closed down. It was just like, the universe is just trying to push me away from it. And so here I am again, but I'm coming at it from a different perspective this time, because there's one thing, was kind of the point of this video that I wanted to get out, was that the reason why I wasn't enjoying what I was doing wasn't working for me anymore was simply for the fact that I was trying to mold myself and fit into this feminized sort of idea of what spirituality is. And that is effectively what the New Age spiritual cult is. It is a feminized, a feminist religion, a feminist, it's all, I mean, from the top to the bottom. I think it's like 80 to 85% of everybody involved in the New Age movement, or just wellness in general, are women. And then I would say probably of all the men that I met while doing this career, I would say probably like 60 to 70% of them were gay and very effeminate. And so I believe what helped me stick out in it was that I was a man, and I was, different. I was willing to give that direct, very honest approach to, people coming to you for advice. But I hated it, and I didn't know consciously why I hated it, because I didn't know any better. Like I was literally just this Marine. I fucking had no idea. I thought I was going insane. And then I fell into the New Age spiritual movement because it was the only thing there for me. And so I just thought, okay, I guess this is just the way things are. And I rolled with it. But now that I took some time and took a step back from it, and I'm looking at it, I can see now very clearly that it is just grotesquely, toxically feminine. Just there is little to no true masculine essence involved in it. Now there are some, there are some good people out there. But for the most part, it can be boiled down, I feel like, to this very simple concept from which, the feminine sort of foundation originates from. And that is, the things that make me feel good are good, and the things that make me feel bad are bad. And so there's this general tendency of escapism baked into the whole thing. There is this grandiose, fantastical nomenclature, all these concepts of things beyond the human, experience, the spiritual realm, the fifth dimension, ascension, and all these things. And it is literally sort of that Neptunian delusional fantasy, that hazy, murky, gray sea that for the non-discerning mind can't distinguish between what is actually real and actually serves to enrich your human life and what is just going to distract you from it. And there's a lot of just these people who seem to completely shit on the idea of physical reality and life as a human here as just some sort of negative or thing that we must escape from. And I agree to a certain respect that I believe that this is sort of like one developmental stepping stone along the way to something higher. But we're nowhere fucking near that. Individually, case by case, it obviously is a little bit different. But, collectively, like, we are fucking still in the mud. And that this place is, in fact, a simulation. And that is the point. But it's something grander than that. The word simulation falls vastly short of what it really is. But it is supposed to be a place that we can come to that has rules, very strict rules. And the time, the linear time that we have here is what gives it meaning. It gives meaning to everything that we do to a lesser or greater degree. And that this new age feminist sort of thing where it's just like, I've been banned from more communities online and in real life than I haven't been, simply for saying things, asking critical questions about things that weren't immediately positive. They weren't even negative per se. They just weren't positive. And then, people like to point their finger at you and be like, well, you're just going to manifest that. You're going to manifest the bad thing by talking about it, by thinking about it. And I'm like, that's retarded. That's not how this works. And so there's a lot of fucking problems out there. I guess I'm just here to report that, there is a significant level of delusion. And it's actively making everything worse. Because if people are too cowardly to go look into the abyss and see the shit festering in the dark recesses of things, then it's only going to get worse. It's only going to continue to fester, and it's just going to grow. And so we have oh God, I don't even know where to begin, but there is an enormity of problems that we are facing here on this planet that we have got to deal with now, and that there is a a time limit to this, a timeline, and that this isn't even the first time that we've been here and done something like this. The stories of Atlantis, Lemuria, and Mu are just like echoes of the same shit that we're dealing with now. Because I have this saying that people have always been and will continue to always be people. And so, it might have looked different, it might have sounded different, but the bones were the same. The same corruption, the same spiritual lessons that we have failed time and time again, and that we get to a place where, like, similar to where we are now, a certain technological, a certain level of understanding about our universe, and that there is a test that is involved there that we keep missing, and we keep being corrupted by all of these elements. The scrambling of what men and women are, confusing those roles, hedonism. It just I believe that art is a manifestation of the unconscious. It is in a way really good art from somebody truly connected in a way. It's like a dream made manifest. And I believe that, like, Warhammer 40K, it is so popular for a reason, but I think the Chaos Gods represent, it's a perfect example of, the things that like the Chaos Demons, the, Slanesh, Khorne, Tzeentch. These are there's wisdom there if you know how to look at it. And right now we are the Slaneshi cults are just going crazy right now. Hedonism is on the rise. But masculinity has been effectively demonized. It has been downright fucking ostracized. And it's been made to look like it is bad. And this is a test for masculinity, because masculinity in our cultures, at least here in the West anyways, America and then Europe, our brothers and sisters, we are kin more than we're not. We have gotten weak. We've gotten soft. What's the saying that empires are built in combat boots and die in velvet shoes? Our ancestors, strive to create a world that is better than the one that they were born into, and that we sort of end up here where, we don't have to struggle so hard to survive anymore. It's just sort of given to us. And, when that weakness arises, the enemies of who we are and the forces of entropy will worm their way in, and that we it's just going to make everything worse. And we've crested, we've peaked in a lot of ways. I believe that the 90s, early 2000s was the high watermark in so many ways for our culture and our people. And now we are in a sharp decline, and in a lot of ways we are already dead. But the thing about the missing aspect of spirituality and why the new age like spirituality is so prevalent is because the masculine is just diminished so much that it's just not present really in a lot of aspects of our spirit, our national collective spirit. Men have become effectively giant pussies. I look at a lot of men, and I don't really see them as anything separate than women. And the part of the spirituality for a man is the masculine aspect of things. Part of it is rigidity, structure, maintaining the order of things, enabling a sort of foundation or a bone structure to which things can be built upon, whilst the feminine side of things is formless, it's chaotic, it is unpredictable, it is all feeling, very kind of irrational. And right now, that is what is at the helm. When the feminine energy gains control, gains the upper hand, becomes the dominant force, the dominant energy, the destruction of whatever, which is paradoxical because it is in that chaotic mess that is the crucible of like creation. And that, we as humans are a mixture of both energies. No one is perfectly one or the other. Just women exhibit the feminine much more potently, as where man does the masculinity. But part of the masculine spirituality is that of the protector, is that of the way keeper, the lore master, the ones that tries to maintain the tribe, and that it's been systematically essentially eviscerated in our culture. It has become somehow bad to do those things. And so a lot of men are just lost, completely astray. They have no idea what to fucking do. I think the most common like word or phrase in suicide notes by men is like they just don't have any purpose, no purpose at all. And that's true. It is hard for a lot of men to find really kind of any purpose. You have to be really strong, especially in these times, just in a different way. And people always look back at like our ancestors and they think like they were harder. They in some ways they were harder, but they didn't have to deal with this shit. This is I really don't like it when men complain about, I was born in the wrong time fucking period. I should have been born during like World War II or the Vietnam or something like that. Like during the, like the 30 Years War or something. And it's like, no, fuck that. Those men were there to do their thing at that time. And now it's your turn to be here at this time. We got to adapt and we have to overcome. We have to figure this shit out, because I don't know about you, but the way things are going now, it is going down the shitter very rapidly. And we have a significant problem because we have like a parasite that is attached to us to such a degree. It's not even really necessarily a parasite anymore. I would call it something vampiric. There's something just it gives nothing and it takes away everything. And then it's also got like a knife to our throats that if we decide to take it off, it'll just try and take us with it. It truly sort of other. And I'm not going to go into too many details now. I'm going to, because I don't want to get fucking the algorithm all mixed up with me. But there is a certain class of people, there is a certain group of people that is effectively just a leech on our back that is causing an enormous amount of our problems. And they are so sophisticated in their how they evolved as a people that it's almost like they've injected a form of spiritual aids into our system, because these people understand magic. They understand metaphysics to a certain degree. It's almost like they are more highly evolved in that matter than we are. It's like the classic warrior and the warlock trope. And so they've put a spell on us that has effectively neutralized our immune system. The thing that would have naturally sort of prevented this, they have seduced, manipulated, lied, cheated, cast their spells in order to achieve where they are, and they're just raping our fucking culture and our people. And that if we don't do something sooner rather than later, then we're going to reach a point of no return where we're not going to be able to survive it. And we'll just become a footnote in history because, it's that serious. And people like to roll their eyes at it, but they're just ignorant of the bigger picture. That's where we are headed. We cannot look at history anymore for a lot of things and look at it and to apply where we're going now, because we have this technological wild card that makes what happens for the future very unpredictable. The internet, all the other technology that we have, the interconnectedness of our world, the fact that there are so many fucking people everywhere. And if you're listening to this, you're probably a severely global minority. If you're an American or a European, you are in the minority. And that these merchant overlords have taken over the fucking world. And because these people care literally only about the bottom line, care literally only about making money, they will do and they will say anything. They will literally enslave you, to which they have effectively already done that. They already did that, but now they find that there are cheaper cattle abroad. And so they're shipping in all of these fucking foreigners who don't know, who don't have a frame of reference, who basically will take what we might consider scraps and find it to be luxurious. And so these corporate fucking merchant overlords, it's easier just to replace you. And that's why they're doing it, because they view this world as more economic zone than anything else. But I just kind of wanted to get this rant about, the New Age spiritual movement out of my head. It's something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. It's just filled with basic bitches. And there are some good people involved in there, but there are more spiders than there aren't. There are more merchant gurus out there that are just completely full of shit, who may not even necessarily, think that what they're doing is full of shit. Like they might actually believe what they're fucking talking about with some of the stuff that they do. But ultimately, the only thing that they sell, the only thing a lot of these gurus and spiritual, people out there are doing is selling you good feelings. They're selling you a feeling special about something. And, so I guess my whole point coming back out with this channel is to try and help illuminate people on the other side and what's going on and the true sort of nature of our reality, because everything is spiritual and everything does have meaning to it, to a greater or lesser degree. It just depends on kind of your perspective on life. I really don't like to tolerate, nihilistic opinions anymore. Having been one in the past, it's just like, come on. Anyway, I'm going to be talking about an enormous amount of things, some of which are going to be fairly spicy. This is just the first little rambling that I've got on the sort of New Age feminist cult of copium that is the New Age spiritual movement. I just sort of brushed over the surface of some of the stuff that I had done. I have a lot of experiences, a lot of stories to tell, some good, some bad, some funny about what I had gone through, but I'm looking to get back into it. I've cultivated some of my own forms of divination. I've made my own divination mats. I've got 3 different versions. I've tested them out. They're really effective. They're probably my go-to when working with people now, or, you know, I still use tarot from time to time. It's great for, you know, some light surface level stuff, but I've been really getting into astrology lately. I've done some reports on some mundane astrology, and I might do some more to get back into it, but I'm just going to come out this time and just, you know, fuck it. I'm just going to be myself, talk a little shit along the way, and hopefully some of you stick along and find what I'm saying interesting for some reason. But until then, you know, like and subscribe if you want to hear more of this, and I will catch you in the next video.